Hey guys, Scott here, and today I want to talk about the rampant amount of desync that has been happening on DBD lately as a patch 4.5.0, and apparently will be happening until the minimum 4.5.2, which we're not really sure when that's going to be. But I want to go over what exactly is happening, and I wanted to use an old example I made about this exact subject to explain what exactly is going on. So, first we need to understand the actual problem that's happening. The actual problem is not that the hitboxes have changed or anything like that. It's desync. Desync is essentially when your character's position is not being accurately represented in the multiplayer aspect of the game. Because if you've ever done multiplayer game design before, essentially what a multiplayer game is, it's just multiple single player games happening at once. Except the coordinates of the NPCs basically are being uploaded by other computers and they have to match that point. And this goes with animations and every function is basically handled in that way. But that's basically how multiplayer games work. Now, what desync is when those numbers don't they don't reach the server and go back to the viewer at the same time, or not the same time, relative same time. There's always a tiny bit of desync in multiplayer games. That's just something you can't get around. Anytime you have anything that's not on like a local area network, there's going to be some form of desync. You just can't avoid that. Now, to handle that, a lot of games have like movement and animation interpolation, which basically means the game guesses what the person is going to be doing for the next, very tiny amount of time, and will continue repeating that action until it receives a different input from the player, basically. This is exactly why if somebody disconnects, you might see them continue to run in the same direction, because that's the last input that was received by them, and the movement interpolation is going, okay, well, this is what they're doing. But that is why that happens. So that is how you smooth things out and make desync not as noticeable, by basically you have a bunch of guesses happening every millisecond of what the players are going to be doing. And so for some reason, when they changed the animations in this last patch, they screwed something up heavily with the desync. And I want to show you exactly what that would look like. I can't show you in DBD. I mean, I could, but DBD still does not allow you to do solo tests or anything like that. And I don't have anyone available at the moment to test that has a recording method to, compare the two. But it doesn't matter. It's the exact same in every game, this type of desync. And I want to show you what exactly I'm talking about here. So this is from Dark Souls 2. It's an example I made a while ago. Basically, I just wanted to show you how desync makes two very similar things actually look a bit different. So this is the view from one side. This is the view from the other side. Now, on the view from this side, I do an R2, which is like a stabbing attack on the player. And it seems like, that's in range. However, if you look on the other side from the other player's perspective, you can see that the hit is nowhere near me, and thus I get hit there. And that's basically what's going on here in DBD. It's actually the exact same thing. The strange thing is, though, this is more common with peer-to-peer games. When you have a dedicated server, the whole point of having dedicated servers for things like this is it's supposed to sync up the animations and the positions and the variables and all that stuff. So the fact that it's happening in a dedicated server game is weird. Because if you think about it, when you have a peer-to-peer game, you have simply what the host sees and what the receiving end sees. With a dedicated server, there's a middleman that can sync the things up and then, actually send them equally to both sides. That's like the basic idea behind it. I'll admit, I'm fairly knowledgeable about a lot of game design stuff. The multiplayer aspects I'm a bit more clueless on, so I'm not going to pretend I know more than I do. But that's roughly how it works. And I'm guessing what happened was the animations being changed, there's something to do with the movement interpolation now, because you can tell it's different. The actual movement is different with the animations. And because of that, the interpolation is not accurately predicting where the character is going to be like in the next very small amount of time. So you get these issues where it looks like you're getting hit from a mile away. Now, on the other side, though, and this is how you can tell it's kind of very similar to this, because the killer is seeing this very fair perspective. Like, survivors need to understand, killers are not getting any unfair hits, Because on our screen, it looks like we're just playing normal Dead by Daylight. We're still hitting you because we can see you in range. That's kind of how it's like the killer's hit takes priority, basically. So on our screens, it actually looks totally fine. It looks like we're getting a very fair hit. But on your screen, we haven't reached that area yet. We're like, a quarter of a second behind. And that's where you get these insane lunges that look like they're hitting you from a mile away. And I think the animation system that changed is making this desync worse because the interpolation got screwed up or something like that. And the reason I want to talk about this is because, A, I want you guys to realize that killers are not necessarily seeing an advantage. We're not hitting people from a mile away. We're just playing the normal game. It's just survivors that are getting robbed. It's weird having one not affect the other, but killers are just playing the normal game and survivors are just getting hit from a mile away. And that's a huge, huge, huge problem. And I don't know how they're going to fix that because that is actually a pretty complicated problem. Like, I give them shit all the time. Like, changing the UI takes, months and months. No, it fucking doesn't. That's just not true. But this kind of stuff, maybe because I'm a bit more uneducated about it with the whole movement interpolation and networking and things like that. But it seems like this is way more complicated to fix because that is tied to the actual animations and like the whole animation system of the game. That seems actually pretty damn confusing. So I have a feeling this problem is going to be here for a while. I'm hoping that's not the case because it is really, I played a couple games as Survivor. It is really unpleasant as Survivor. You have to basically assume that they are a half a second closer to you than they actually are, which is funny because that's the standard mantra of playing Dark Souls PvP. You always assume they're a half a second closer to you than they actually are. So it is funny how it's a very, very similar scenario. I just wanted to bring up example and set things straight so people understand it's a desync issue caused with the new animations and not hitboxes. The hitboxes haven't changed. The hitboxes are mostly fine unless, you're playing Blight or Huntress, in which case they're abysmal. But for the most part, hitboxes haven't changed at all. It's just the desync has gotten worse with the animation system. And it seems like it's going to be a very complicated problem to fix. So I think we're going to have to just deal with this for a while. Survivors, I'm sorry, this sucks ass. And I hope they fix it very quickly, but that's all I can say. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.